Happy almost Halloween, everybody. Welcome to the HalloWINE version. And I feel like I gotta say it in that voice. HalloWINE version of Wine Antics Live. I'm Jen with Wine Antics. I'm welcomed by the famous, the immortal, the wonderful Stub from CorkEnvy.com.
Elvis Aaron Presley. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I am a sad wolf compared to his Elvis.
My buddy Stub asked me to fill in for him tonight, so I'm happy to be here.
Jeez, it is gonna be a whole half an hour impression.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a whole thing, Jack.
All right. So we are a day out from Halloween. And last year, if you weren't here, we had a guest. We had Aaron Sell from Socially Powered and had a lot of fun talking about cocktails, like spooky cocktails. And we thought about doing that again this year, but I wanted to take a different approach on it. And I wanted to think about wine in terms of, what are those fears? What scares people about wine or intimidates them about wine? And of course, we had to keep with the costume. Does anybody out there remember what Stub was last year? I did a little live stream before this and said exactly what he was. But I welcome the comments of your interpretation if you watched last year of what
Oh,
Stub was.
old E was watching. Best he can remember, Stub was a sexy little bitch last year because he is fine, just fine.
Oh, I was not
Oh,
prepared for this.
this ain't gonna get old at all, is it?
Not at all. So, since we're talking about things that scare you about wine,
Mm.
tonight I am actually drinking rye because if anything about wine scares you, there's always the default that is liquor. How about how about you, E-man?
Well, sometimes wine scares people, but Stub has taught his old buddy E a lot about wine. But you know what old Elvis likes. He was born and raised in Tupelo, Mississippi, but made it to Memphis as soon as possible, where he built his Graceland mansion. And you know what Elvis likes? He likes Jack. So sometimes, even if he's gonna drink some fine wine later, old Elvis likes to have a little Jack Daniels to start the evening. Mm. Mm. Oh, ain't nothing better than that, Jack.
Gotta hold it together though. You're gonna do all that. Gotta hold it together. So it's kind of funny. We're both starting out with liquor. And I don't know that I can do quite what Stubb did there. I don't know that I could take a whole shot, but I'm definitely going to use my fancy coffee cup because it's really great for Halloween. Like you're out with trick or treaters. People think maybe you're just drinking some hot cocoa, maybe a cup of coffee.
They're all like, "You're drinking some hot cider, Jack. That's
Yeah.
great on Halloween, or HalloWINE, as we're calling it tonight. Or you can have some whiskey in that glass too. That's all right."
Makes it very good. I'm gonna check over. I'm gonna check where we're live and see what people are doing. I know this is a little bit different. This format is a little bit different. This whole show is just a little bit different, right? Um, but we're giving it a try and having fun. So what do you think, Stubb, in all of your infinite wisdom and experience and people that like to talk to you for some random reason, though I don't understand because you're a total wallflower.
Mm.
What is probably the most intimidating or scary thing when it comes to wine?
Well, sometimes people feel like they just don't know wine and they're afraid of it because they feel like people who know wine are fancy people and know so much more than them, are so much smarter. But that ain't the case. They're just more experienced, Jack. It's like OE says, you got to try anything at least 2 times before you get a feel for it, and then maybe keep doing it. So it's really the unknown. People think there's so much wine out there and they can't learn anything about it. But the more you drink, the more you're gonna know. It's kind of like that NBC. The more you know, do kind of thing. So you got to experiment. You got to taste. You got to taste everything. And people are afraid to do that sometimes, and they're afraid to ask questions because they don't want to feel stupid. Well, E's here to tell you there ain't no reason to feel stupid because you don't know anything until you learn about it, Jack.
I don't know where to go with that at all. But you're right. You're totally right. Some of the most intimidating things are, the perception that other people know a ton more than you do about wine, and No, they've just probably drank more than you have. Maybe some people have some more book knowledge, but 9 times out of 10, it's just they've tried a lot more than you have and narrowed out, right? Narrowed out what they don't like to
Sure, I
get
think
to
it's
the
more the fear of the unknown. People don't know something, so they get afraid when people who know something about it start talking about it. Like they feel dumb. They feel they feel like it's intimidating to ask questions. Well, ask questions. Ask what people mean by things. So I'm smelling this wine here, and I can say, "Oh, I smell some dark berries and a little bit of graphite in there." Ask me what I mean by that, because most of the time, what you really mean is it smells like a number two pencil from when you were a second grade kid, and we all know what that's like. If you say something's a little green or stemmy, we can all remember breaking a tree branch off of a tree when we were a kid and chewing on it while playing outside. Say a watermelon Jolly Rancher. Everybody knows what that tastes like. It's okay to explain wine in simple terms and then explain things to people who don't know, or to ask questions in a way to people who do know, to explain it in simple terms. And that's where people get really, really afraid. It's all about the unknown.
kind of like things that go bump in the night, since we are
Sure.
talking Halloween. It's
Indeed.
actually one of my legitimate fears. I fear heights, true
Mhm.
story. I fear the dark because it is the unknown, because you don't have any perception of where you're going or what's going on. And of course, I had a fear of wine when I started out. Because I assumed that everybody knew so much more about me, and I didn't want to look like an idiot.
Sure. That's a fear for everybody, Jack. But
Yep.
sometimes you just got to get on that bare, empty stage and just go with it and ask your questions and see how it goes. And before you know it, that wine will be caressing your tongue like a familiar teddy bear you went to sleep with every night when you were a kid.
Okay.
So if you
Or
think I can't do this the whole time, you're crazy.
I know you can, and that's what's so creepy. And if you didn't know, Stubb is
Hmm.
notorious for bringing out his guitar, so I just can't wait. I cannot wait to see what you have in store with that guitar right now. And speaking from your experience there, E-Man, you could put some shiny rhinestones on and just go out on stage and brave the unknown. Face your fears of the unknown by jumping into it. I think in a lot of regards I did that when I started drinking wine, or when I started really learning about wine. I took a course, but I didn't really understand a lot of it, so I forced myself into the element and kind of went big. So immersion, as we learn with languages, trying to learn languages, immersion is a great thing. Not everybody can do it, but there are ways to volunteer and get into it. And just drinking. I mean, just going out and hooking up with some girlfriends or guy friends, or I don't know, bandmates. Man there.
I mean, you pick up Scylla and you go down the street and have yourself a peanut butter and banana sandwich, maybe with little, I don't know, sparkling wine from Oregon there. That would be a perfect pairing for a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Grilled, of course. Beautiful. You try everything, as all old Elvis is saying. Sometimes you leave Scylla at home. If you go through Vienna and want some sausage, maybe try some nice Riesling with that. If you're going through Paris, you're always going to get some wine, but you can have it some fine cheese. If you're going somewhere near Memphis, you get some hot links, and you probably pair that with a nice spicy Zinfandel.
I can't believe you've had that prepared. I just can't. Went everywhere from Vienna sausages to nanner sandwiches. Okay. All right. You are committed.
Oh,
You are
grilled.
totally
That's
committed.
grilled peanut butter and nana sandwiches there,
Oh,
Jen.
peanut butter and nanner sandwiches.
Peanut butter and nana sandwiches grilled. Oh yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Right next door to Sun Studios in Old Memphis, they make a beautiful nana sandwiches there. Peanut butter and nana sandwich. You can go see what Elvis recorded his first song and then have a sandwich next door. Now they don't serve any wine there, but you might be able to sneak in a little flask. You know what I'm saying? Not that Elvis ever snuck anything in anywhere, but
I just got the Facebook comments up, and Chris Ballard says this is awkward.
I don't even know what she's talking about.
Hey, Elena. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. Sorry, I had to take a couple minutes to try to get my my feed up. Yeah, and this is why I went straight for the liquor. Even though we're talking about wine, I needed a little bit of a reality check here with the E-Man. All right, so I I asked what's the biggest things that scare you about wine, and I asked this on my personal Facebook page earlier today, and I don't know if you probably checked it out, Stubb.
Of course I did.
Yeah, you did. And the biggest thing was, I mean, half in jest, half in reality, running out of wine.
Oh, that's a terrible thing.
Running out of wine. And
Oh
that
yeah, that's always half in jest. Always buy about, caterers go for about when they're doing a catering gig, they do about a bottle per person, and they realize they're probably not going to use all of that. But that's a good, that's 5 glasses of wine per person, and you're usually going to serve some other stuff there too, some other beverages, other libations. Maybe like some Jack. You never know, but caterers prepare about a bottle per person. So running out of wine, always buy more wine than you think you're going to need. Because you know what? Wine doesn't usually go bad. It gets better with age, Jack. So you can keep that stuff around forever and open it later when you have more friends over and it's just great. Mm.
and by forever he means until the next party.
Which is probably the next night, Jack. You know, old Elvis likes to entertain.
I didn't want to go there, but I knew it was going there. Let's just gloss over that whole scenario. And I know that the fear of running out of wine is real, and there's there's a couple ways to combat it. I mean, in a party scenario, thinking 1 bottle of wine per person per attendee is good. I mean, if your friends are wine drinkers, right? If your friends are not wine drinkers, you may just have a ton left over, which isn't a bad thing. And a couple other ways, I join a wine club, right? Have no fear. They will deliver wine to your door as long as you keep paying the bill. Right. I love also connecting with a great local retailer, and the more frequently you go into the shop, they're trying to give you something more unique. So if you walk into the shop for one thing and you know the person behind the counter, you're probably going to get a couple other things. So I know this is a little bit in jest because we're all adults, and if we're drinking wine, we figured out how to keep our stockpiles well up to our standards. But there are a couple ways in case you forget. And wine clubs, I mean, are getting... There's something for every budget. So even if you don't want your $80 Napa cab coming in every quarter at a case, you can check out a couple other of the more budget-friendly wine clubs to keep it going.
And Jen, you go to a great point that Elvis was talking about earlier on this. It's about trying things and learning new things. So if you join a wine club, you're going to get different wines every month or every quarter, however often they ship. And that's a good way to get to know varieties of wines that you may not have known before, and get to taste things and see what you like better. And becoming friends with your local retailers is a great way also. Go in there a couple times a week when they're tasting, see what they have there. They're going to get to know what you like. And sometimes they're going to say, hey, we got something in here you should try, Jack. And then you can take their advice and take it home. And if you don't like it, you come back and say, I don't like that. Or you do like it. And you're like, oh, that wine really took care of business on the inside of my face, Jack. I need some more of that kind of wine. Then they're going to know what to recommend for you later. It's a good way. Taste everything. Do everything.
Do all of the things.
Do it all. Do it all, Jack.
Do all of the things. So E-Man, what's your favorite beverage of choice for an evening of shenanigans such as Halloween?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Jack. Early in the evening, I might open a nice bottle of wine with a couple of close friends. But once the party gets going, Jack, it's hard for Elvis to everybody flowing in the wine they like. So we're gonna pull out some nice craft beers or probably some cocktails. Like tomorrow night, I might do a specialty cocktail with like some, I don't know, we may start with some Jack and put a little honey in there, maybe a little bit of peach syrup over ice, and we're gonna shake that up. And that's going to be a nice little beverage, even though it's cold out. Elvis don't like hot alcoholic drinks, so we ain't going to do anything like that. But a lot of people like the cider or the mulled wine. I don't like the mulled wine, but it's a thing. If you like the mulled wine, go ahead and do it. Throw some spices in there, bottle of wine, put it over a fire for a little bit, and then pour it in your favorite mug or tumbler. It'll be great.
That is so true. And you brought up like 2 really good points, especially since Halloween tends to have parties associated with it and adults libating while the kids are trick-or-treating or having candy. I mean, at least everywhere I go, this is the way I guarantee that everybody makes it out of Halloween alive. So I have a giant fear at any one of my Halloween parties that my guests are going to get into my good wine.
Ooh.
That is a legitimate fear. I have at previous Halloween parties put like Halloween decorations over my good wine. Like black sheets, put some spider webs on it, put some spiders in there, make it look like it's part of the entire decoration so nobody gets into my good wine. I have a rule: when you start out any party, you bring out the best stuff first, the stuff you want to share with people, and then you make sure you have staggeringly cheaper wine as the evening goes on.
Now that's a good rule, Jen. I like that rule. So what I do when I start a party, I start out with wine, and I try to pick wine specifically for that party, especially if it's a large party. So I'll go pick wine specifically for that, and I'll have all those wines set out on the counter or on the table so people know those are the next wines to open, if those are what they're going to open. So what happens is people don't start raiding your cellar and grabbing wines off your shelf or cellar or wherever it is in your home. Right. No, absolutely. So the way old E combats that is you just put everything you want to drink on the table. And once it runs out, people have been there long enough, they go like, oh, the wine's out, Jack. What are we going to open next? Then old E's probably had enough of himself. He's like, yeah, we're going to pull out some good stuff because people have left. Maybe you got some people know what they're doing. Or we're just going to pull out, I don't know, maybe start doing some shots of Jack. Jack, what do you think?
Or rye, whiskey. Whiskey keeps you warm. Just saying, as you guys are taking your kids out trick-or-treating, there's nothing like a little whiskey. You could put that in something like mulled wine, or Jonathan Tripp, who is my partner and co-founder of VitMug, and I never give him enough credit. He's an amazing guy behind the scenes. Thank you so much. He was talking about doing a spiced apple cider mulled wine. I don't know. Have you ever done anything like that? I think it's a really great base in terms of apple cider, and then can really like sweeten it up. It's already got some baking spices in there. All you need is a nice dry red wine to throw in there, and you've got a nice little balance of sugar and something that's already really delicious warm. I know you don't like the warm wines, but I think it's a good idea.
I don't generally, Jack, but if I want to throw something else into some wine, maybe a little brandy is how I would go with that. A little bit of brandy, maybe to kick that up just a little bit of a notch. Because as you're heating it, let's not forget, you're going to lose a little bit of that alcohol. So maybe heat up the wine. You're going to burn off some of that alcohol and then add some brandy right at the end, just enough to get it warm. So you still have that nice little nippy bite to keep you warm on a cold night, such as HalloWINE night.
I know this is kind of uncomfortable, Chris, but I have to say I'm digging, maybe it's the rye, I don't know, but I'm digging the husky voice here, Stub. I do. I think that this is a great compliment to our HalloWINE special. I think as I've thought about parties, Halloween parties specifically, or being in an environment where you have a ton of wine and you've already cordoned off what is your good wine and you've put good wine out for guests. One of my fears is actually legitimately running out of wine for that specific party. And there's a follow-on fear to that is somebody going out and getting more. After...
Both good fears. Well, number one, you don't want anybody going and getting wine for your party.
No.
I mean, that just means that you didn't prepare it right. Oh, that scares me not being a good host. However, run out of wine. A good way to take care of that, though, at the end of the night, if you want everybody to leave because you run out of booze, just pull out a big wooden salad bowl and ask if everybody threw their keys in the middle of it. Because people are going to freak out over that and probably leave anyway. So they don't have to worry about drinking anymore. I'm just saying, that's a little tip from old E right there, Jack.
What? Just make everybody throw their keys in the bowl. I think that's a responsible thing to do.
No, Jack. That was the thing back in Elvis's day when you arrive at a party and all the men would put their keys in a bowl at the end of the night.
I know where you're going.
You freak everybody out and make them think it's a kind of party that it wasn't really, Jack. And what do? They jump in their car and hightail it the hell out of there because they don't want no part of that.
Oh, this show just became non-PG-13.
I'm just old.
Just saying. Just saying.
Hey, and if by chance people do throw their keys in the party, he's always going to take care of business. You know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of this show is... Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. I think a lot of this show right now is just us cracking up at one another. I appreciate it. So Mike from Mad Martian says, my fear is that some a-hole, his words, not mine, will bring a bottle of $2 Chuck and I will have to have them executed or at least removed from future invites.
Yeah, that's a thing. Here's what you do, Jack. You open that at the end of the night before you ask all your guests to throw the keys in a bowl. So, I mean, that's a good way to take care of that. Or you just put it in a bag and re-gift it to them like you're giving party favors and take it back home. And then they'll think that you like the same wine they do. And they'll get home and be like, oh, look,
Ooh.
old E likes the same wine we do. And they won't know the difference.
No.
Because they put their drunk asses in an Uber and went home at the end of the party. And guess what? You still got their keys the next morning. So anything can happen on that.
Just stop. Just stop that now. Gotta stop. And I think this, Mike, this goes along with my thought of how the party goes. By the end of the night, nobody knows or cares that $2 Chuck is in their glass. Honestly. So if you look at somebody bringing $2 Chuck to your party as a reality, as a party sustainer, as filler, it's a good option. It's not your go-to start of the party wine, though, unless you really want to impress the ladies. I'm just saying.
On a super serious note, I really am serious about this. If you're having a party, especially a large party, where you may not be in charge of the wine all of the night, pick the wine you want poured at that party. Pick a bubbly, pick a white or two, pick a red or two, and have all of those bottles out. Whatever amount you think you're going to need, just have them sitting out. That way, when people grab another bottle of wine, it's something that you've curated for the party. Especially if you're a wine person, right? You don't want to be serving crappy wine if people consider you the wine person. You don't want to serve $2 Chuck at your parties, unless you're doing some crazy cocktail or something with it. So yeah, just pick the wines you want at the beginning. Buy enough that you think will happen, and at some point, if you run out of wine, people are like, "Hey, you're out of wine." You're like, "Oh, look, great! I have vodka over here now." Instead of getting into your nicer wines that you don't want to share with a large group necessarily. Not that you're stingy, you just don't want to waste that on a large group who's probably had a couple anyway, and may or may not, most of that group may or may not actually appreciate the nicer wines you have in your cellar.
All right. E-Man won't say it here, but he's kind of a big deal. So if you guys are enjoying the show, if you're enjoying the content and the witty repertoire, take a moment and share this out because this is a lot of fun. We're getting ready for Halloween with HalloWINE and discussing a lot of our fears. I'm working in a couple fears that I have found from Facebook. One of my fears in terms of party, and this is not just Halloween parties, this is any party, is that there won't be the wine that I like at the party. Not everybody as considered of a host or hostess as you are, Stub, right? So when I go to a party, right, I always bring at least one for the party. And that's a mid-range bottle of wine. It's not really the best end, but we all have price points that we won't go above for parties, right?
Sure.
And then I bring one for myself. And I keep that. I'm lucky I'm tall, so I tend to keep it up in the cabinets that nobody can really reach. And I go to that source because I know, like, let's be real. During the course of 5 hours, I'm probably going to drink a bottle of wine.
Sure. That's a glass an hour. Yeah.
So I always have the wine that I want because I'm afraid to leave it up to the masses.
All right. I don't mind that. I think it's a little weird going to a party and having something just for you. But at the same time, if you can hide it appropriately, maybe that's all right. And if somebody sees you pouring your own glass, they're going to think you have a real problem later. That's all I'm saying. But
no.
Whatever. No, you're drinking what you want to drink. Maybe that's all right.
I am drinking what I want to drink, and it's honestly what it is. I always want, when I bring a bottle of wine, I want that to be for the party. And I think a lot of people tend to bring what they like. Maybe they'll bring 2 bottles of it, right? But let's be real. If you're bringing 2 bottles of what you like, is one of it really for the party and one of it's really for you?
Yeah, if I bring 2 bottles, I expect maybe one for the party and one for the guests. But if I bring a bottle for the party, I generally will just tie a ribbon around it and hand it to the host as I walk in. And then maybe but maybe the gift bottle is like a host or hostess gift. I'll have that just in a bag. And especially we're coming up on the holidays, so like if I walk in, I'll just drop that next to the tree or on a table right inside, and then hand a bottle to the host or a hostess as I walk in the door and say, hey, this is for you. And sometimes they'll open it, sometimes they won't. There's one party I go to every year where I know whatever I take is going to be consumed now.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of wine in the house, and that's kind of what it's sort of how they do their party. They have plenty of beverages for everyone, but they also have this idea saying we don't need, 3 cases of wine extra in our house right now. So they actually open the wines people bring for the party. That upset me the first year. I say upset, slightly upset me the first year because I'm like, oh, that's that nice, thoughtful bottle I picked out for them as a gift, hoping they'd enjoy it later. And then I realized how they do their party. And not that I still think about the bottle or bottles I take to that party every year because I still attend it because it's a great party. But I think about it in a different way. And I've gotten to know some of the crowd. Like, I know half the people there personally and half of them I don't. So I kind of think of it in that way. I also know the people who generally help run their party. I've gotten to know them over the last couple of years. So I know what they have. And actually, one of the two of them will come and ask me, hey, should we open this now or wait for this later until it's, thinned out a bit? Like,
you're training your friends very well.
Training the people who are working with and for my friends. Yes, absolutely. No, but it's a good way to go.
Alfredo on Facebook says, why does Stub look like preaching Elvis?
Oh, don't
sing a praise song, Elvis. Sing a praise song.
Sing a praise song. I mean, should I do In the Ghetto? That's the most uplifting song Elvis ever did. Was In the Ghetto.
Wait, let me get you to full screen.
No, Stub ain't gonna do that. Now, Stubbs' mama loves that song, and I don't know why, because it's so sad. On a cold and wet December morning, another little hungry child was born in the ghetto. I know, I ain't gonna do no more of that, because Elvis don't want to cry right now thinking about that. But there we go.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you for forcing E-Man to keep it real right now.
That's right. You're making Stubb think about his mama. He's gonna have to call her after the show.
Oh, Chris Kern must be around because I got one angry face going on Facebook.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right.
Who's not gonna be angry listening to Stubb?
I don't know. I thought it was very good. Well, all right, so so one more fear, and this was put out on Facebook. It was the fear of calories. That fear is very real for a lot of people, and I started thinking about it. I went back to what I knew about wine and how many calories are in like the average glass of wine. Now, the average glass of wine is not 8 ounces. It's actually like a serving size is like 4 ounces, 4 to 5 ounces. And from what I can remember, drier wines, your reds and your very dry whites are going to have anywhere between 120 and 180 calories per 4 ounces.
You getting up, I mean, you look at the serving size of 4 to 5 ounces. Most wines, unless you're getting the sweeter wines, best I can remember, you're averaging out about 100 and 110 calories. Now, you can get higher, you can get lower. You're right about this. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I remember wrong. Elvis drinks a lot. But but no, you do have to worry about calories in these things. In the glasses of wine, as far as compared to other beverages, it equals out about the same, maybe a little bit less than a beer. And depending on a cocktail, depending on the mixers, it can average out to a lot less, especially if you're putting sweeter mixes in there, especially store-bought sweeter mixers or juices in your.
You mean more calories?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then you get into heavier beers, and you're just blowing these calories away out of a glass of wine. So old E says a glass of wine is always the caloric, economical way to drink.
I knew you were gonna mess that up, and I just was like waiting to see how you were gonna mess that up. Economical.
I had to think about how I was gonna mess it up specifically, though.
So let's be real. The average actual serving size is between 6 and 8 ounces per glass.
So there's when we get in trouble, Jack. You get those Olive Garden pours. Where you get a glass like this size here, a real serving size is going to be about halfway up. You go to Olive Garden, Jack, they're going to put it all the way up to here. You're going to have like 6 to 8 ounces of wine in that glass. And it's probably, especially if you're Olive Garden, not going to be real good wine. So, and it's probably going to be a little sweeter side. You're going to have all kind of calories in there, Jack. You got more calories in the wine, and you got a bigger serving size. You don't need that, Jack. Go to a friend's house like Jen or Stubb and drink their good wine. have fewer calories to get appropriate pours, and taste more better wines.
More better wines. That's exactly what it is. Worth every single freaking calorie at any one of our houses.
Elvis says cheers to that, Jack.
Cheers in my coffee mug full of rye. The saddest thing is, like, when I think it was Kathy who put that up, I think it's a real fear for a lot of people in terms of sugar consumption as well as calories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm with Mike, the Mad Martian, who's like, I was told there were no calories in wine.
Well, keep in mind, if you're drinking a perfectly dry wine, there's no sugar left in that, Jack. The yeast done ate it all.
Done ate it all.
Man, you're still gonna have calories, but it ain't gonna be sugar calories. So there's probably better calories for you.
But watch out, those mixed drinks that get you on both ends.
Ooh, you start doing those sweet mixed drinks, Jack. Ooh. Then you wake up, it's worse than when Elvis mixes the red and blue pills together and doesn't remember like a week of his life. I mean, that happened a time or two, but Elvis is doing better now.
Stop, you're already doing quotable moments. Hey, Carlos, or Wagner. Hey, how you doing? Just don't mind me. I'm just gonna go ahead and drink my rye. So you've got all of the quotes of the night. He's already put out more better wines, Olive Garden pours, yeast done eat it all. And you don't even have to be in the after party for this. Which I will put in the link. Yes, I'm sorry, Wagner. I saw your last name and just caught the end of it, and yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to make that strange on anybody. But so, do you have any fears, Stub? Any more that we haven't talked about? Anything that anybody has mentioned to you in terms of what makes wine so scary sometimes?
Now, on a super serious note, getting out of Elvis here. People are afraid of wine. People are afraid of wine because they don't know wine. They think I don't like dry wines. I don't like this type of wine. Well, chances are, in most people's experiences, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with wine, you're trying wines probably on the lower end, lesser quality. So you think maybe getting into it, you don't like them. Now, I would say experiment with it. As you get more experience with it, don't be afraid. People are afraid of prices of wines. People are afraid to pronounce wines. People are afraid if they go. I got a message from a friend last week saying, "Hey, this is my first experience ever with a som at a restaurant." And I didn't know this. I was going out with a couple of friends, and we get to this restaurant because we're on vacation, and we sit down, and the sommelier comes over, and we just didn't know how to react to that. And my question is, tell the som what you normally drink, and if it's a cheap $2 chuck or you have a specific flavor profile, tell the som. Let them pick something for you. Most soms worth their salt. They're not going to sell you the most expensive thing in there. And they may suggest something that's more expensive than you're used to, but if you can afford it, try it. I think most people, once again, it's the experience of it. People haven't had the experience, so they're afraid of it. And I posted, I think earlier today, an article I wrote, and I looked back, it's been like 5 years since I wrote this. The article's titled "Wine is Scarier Than Boobs." And I recounted an experience that I think most of us, both men and women, can remember. Our first, experiences, maybe sitting in a car with a significant other, when we're 16, 17 years old. And we got past all of those fears, most of us, to have some of those, for lack of a better word, carnal experiences later in life that we really enjoy and look forward to. But a lot of us haven't gotten to that same point with wine yet. And there's really no reason to. Your heart doesn't race in the same way. That fear is not the same. If you mess up picking a wine or tasting a wine, it's going to be far less embarrassing than maybe making a wrong move early in your experience physically with romantic partners. So to say, wow, I'm doing a really good job talking around this. I'm very impressed with myself. So yeah, I just say have that experience. Don't be afraid of it. Relish it. Feel like with wine what you felt like when you were having some of those early experiences. Romantically. How's that? Jen, please save me here because I can't be proper for that much longer.
Okay. No, I was just gonna let you go and see where you went. And if you started crying, I was just gonna save you.
Oh, I'm glad I have the glasses on because maybe I would cry.
Get a little misty.
I did maybe give some apologies to a couple of certain young ladies from back in the day. Hey, I've gotten way better at those things, girls. So,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
so I apologize.
So I put your CorkEnvy Facebook link on there. He did share that today. So if you'd like to read again, what is that title? Stop.
Wine is scarier than boobs.
It sounds like a little clickbaity, but it sounds very interesting. I saw you did put that up there, and I thought it was very apropos.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
It was very apropos. I don't have any other fears that I heard about. If anybody has any comments, we will gladly take any questions or whatever, and
Sure.
put it up there and see what the E-Man has to say, because he's got the best comebacks. Any final thoughts, E-Man?
I've done used all the song titles I can remember right now.
I've run out of puns.
If you're gonna make some mulled wine and you start a fire, name her Marie, because she's the name of my latest flame. Tell your little sister, don't you drink wine until you're old enough to drink. Gosh, where am I at? No, I can't. I'm done.
Are you done? Is that it?
I'm out. I've done my best. I've done some fine work here.
Okay, good. All right. So final thoughts for me is that this is our official coming back. We are out at the Wine Marketing and Tourism Conference starting. I leave on Thursday. When do you leave, Stub?
I'll be out there on Monday, Jack.
On Monday. So not this week, but next week we will be MIA. So we may or may not have a show this Thursday, but we will be back by November. Let me get a calendar so I can get this right. November 19th for sure.
Well, that sounds right.
And into December. And if we're a little bit late, we'll probably go into January too, talk about the new year, because we haven't gotten to really dedicate an entire show to Bubbles in nearly a year. So I think that's a pretty solid thing.
Elvis may have to come back for the Bubble show, Jack.
Well, you better get your money out of that costume.
That's right.
Wagner says, wine me tender.
Oh, wine me tender, wine me blue. We had blue wine in the summer, right?
Yeah, we did. We talked a little bit about it. That's still out there.
Hold on, let's see. Wine me tender. Oh, I'm trying to think of a wine term that rhymes with blue, Jack.
My Wagner also says, my fear is how easily wine flows down my throat.
Oh, that's a serious problem, Jack.
A solid fear. Only a bottle and a half later.
Absolutely.
All right. So seriously, we are out at the Bloggers Conference and Tourism Conference next week. So we may or may not see you coming in, but we will definitely be back for the 19th of November and carry through the holidays. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. I appreciate it. Thank you for the shares. And look out for content out in Sonoma. See what it looks.
Join us in the after party, Jax.
Oh, yeah, that too. I got a link for that. Let me put the link up.
Jen's going to throw a link here in the chat. You join us for the after party.
There's the link.
Oh, yeah.
Pin that comment because you don't know what happens in the after party with Stub looking like this.
Oh, that's right, Jack.
All right. Catch you guys later. Bye.